Somebody else had their hand up. Oh.
I was interested, I was a student in the mid-'80s here, and my professor in the writing course had written a book about Stark Weather. And at that time, I just discovered for the first time that my grandpa was the court reporter on the Snow case. So I read the transcripts, and I read all the newspaper articles, and I interviewed a lot of people. And it just, I wondered what would have been the reason to write the story. Everyone said it's the American tragedy. They should never have met. They both had good careers. They were both talented people. It just seems so horribly tragic why they ever met and how it escalated into that kind of ending. But it's just so tragic.
Well, murder is tragic. Can't get worse than that.
Great potential. He was, and he climbed veterinarian.
But if you think maybe his
arrogance was unbelievable, and his defense was that he'd given her a pistol, and he was afraid she was going to kill his wife and his daughter. And
well, maybe it was meant to be that his potential was fulfilled when he murdered the girl.
Well, I would think that would make it more interesting to read about.
What's that?
Just how tragic it was and how they had all this potential. And it's so interesting. We're all here.
I think people are interesting, and I've kicked around the idea of doing a contemporary book on a murder, but probably will never get to it now. But I'd love to be able to talk to Theora Hicks or her parents, or to Snook or his wife or child. And they, Dr. Snook had a young child at the time of the murder. They changed her name after he was convicted, and she went on to Wellesley College, where she got a teaching degree, and she went to Hawaii with her husband. She got married and went to Hawaii, where she taught at the same school that Barack Obama went to. And her son, Snook's grandson, is here and lives here in Columbus. You won't find that in the book.
What happened to his wife? Do you know what happened to?
She went back to. She was a teacher. She went back to teaching here. A different name. She reverted to her maiden name, and died in I think '76.
she died in a nursing home in Westerville.
Yeah, she led a very quiet life. So, yes.
Well, what do you think draws people to true crime books? I mean, I love it, and I'm wondering what love it. And it's not as if I read it and think this is tragic. I just really enjoy reading it.
Vicarious thrill, maybe? A vicarious thrill?
Yeah, why though?
Well, people are interesting no matter what they're doing.
Well, I don't know about people who don't kill.
Well, you don't have to kill somebody.
A regular book about a regular person, I mean, what's to read?
Well, I would dispute that. I think if you got into the minds of anyone here, you'd find very interesting things that could be developed into a book. Short one maybe, but a book. Yes.
I think on the back cover, there's someone that was reviewing the book where you might have had to think about should he have gone to the electric chair. How do you feel about it?
Judge Liston, who's a former municipal court justice here, wrote the foreword to the book, and we both agreed that there was a question throughout the book. You'll see whether justice was served, whether Snook should have gone to the electric chair. The fact that he was guilty is beyond question. But should he have been sent to the electric chair? I don't think so. And the Judge Liston raises that question. There were a number of things in the trial that should never happen. Even before the trial, the prosecutor, in order to get a confession out of Snook, slapped him several times across the face. Relatives of the prosecutor were sitting on the grand jury that returned the indictment. Things like that went on throughout the whole trial, arrest and trial process. And if you count all those together, he never should have been convicted of first-degree murder. He would have avoided the electric chair.
See, maybe the silver medalist would have liked to have shot him instead of staying electrocuted. I have a question for the history professor. Do you think most episodes of Law and Order are created?
I don't think they're invented. I mean, I think if you read properly,
They're all based on something.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't get that.
But I think they would say it's those are. In fact, there's always a I forget what it's called, but at the end they insist it's all fiction.
Yeah, so they won't be sued.
Yeah. Right.
Well, you've got the writers of the History Channel. You know, that's pretty creative. If you ever watched any of their events on there, they're telling the history, but they sure jazz it up.
Right. That's what I'm interested in. What goes through the minds of somebody who's jazzing up nonfiction?
Well, I don't feel that I jazzed up anything. I just embellished on the facts. I mean, I didn't make up what actually happened. And sure, one word here, one word there, but basically what I wrote is actually what happened, and the facts is history.
But what's so entertaining are the names. I mean, James Howard Snook, and he had a love nest on Hubbard Avenue, and he had a landlady named Margaret Smalley, and you had Henry Scarlett, the judge. These are unbelievable names. But the problem that I had when I wrote my version and my screenplay, and I gave it to an actor who was looking for an historical movie script, or murder case to do a script, because his actor was just like Snook. I mean, he's identical, looks like him. And he said, you just didn't have enough about Theodora Hicks. And I couldn't invent anything. He said, if you could find her diary, or if you could, her parents didn't get enough information. I talked to Dr. St. John, who was a classmate, and she said, we thought she was a studious, mousy little thing, and we would all go to the TAT restaurant during Prohibition and drink red wine out of coffee cups. And Theodora said, well, I'm studying. She wasn't studying, she was on Hubbard Avenue.
Sure.
But then if we looked at what was her boyfriend's name, Myers, who they arrested,
Right.
And he didn't give enough information. I just didn't feel that I had enough, and I wouldn't make anything up. And I had a problem with that. I wanted to show the titillation and how Columbus, Ohio reacted to it, and I wanted to show the injustice of the trial. Or I wasn't sure what my focus should have been. And I liked, was it safer to say Dale stood on the courthouse steps and put his arm around Snook and said, if Snook killed that girl, I helped him do it. And then later, Chester slapped him and he confessed.
Well, he confessed about 6 times. And each of the confessions is in the book.
Do you feel that Chester, the prosecutor, was trying to get political leverage with this
Of course.
case? He talked
Of
about
course. It was a high-profile case, of course.
Yeah, he talked about it being Columbus's Leopold Loeb case. He wanted to make it seem
I never saw that.
Yeah, it was something bigger than what it was.
Yeah. It was
And it backfired, didn't it? Did it help his career?
No, he never held public office again.
And then Thurber wrote about it. He talked about the slip door.
Yeah,
They took out all the doors and replaced it with see-through glass.
couldn't confirm that.
You couldn't?
No. I heard that story, but I couldn't confirm it.
And to the point here on your Hicks, how did you kind of pull together the image of her from her high school and her parents being quiet, studious, more conservative, really, versus what how Snook testified that she was pretty
Well,
much a wild thing. Where do you
yeah,
think
sometimes you think she's a nymphomaniac.
Yeah, so what do you think is the truth? Where do you think the truth was?
Probably somewhere in between, but I think once she got on campus, she ran wild. I mean, she tasted freedom. Her family was very strict, very conservative, came from New York. She was in private school for a while. You know, she didn't have very many freedoms as a child growing up. Once she got to Ohio State, she broke loose. And the real Theodore Hicks came out. Her father allowed her to come here to study because he thought it was a safe place for a young woman, which is kind of sad. No, I mean, I see signs that I saw signs that she was a nymphomaniac. I didn't use that in the book per se, but you can figure it out for yourself.
Did Snook hire her as his secretary?
The department did.
And then one rainy night, he drove her home, and the rest is history.
More or less. There's an awful lot of sex in this book, by the way. It's
And on that note,
I do have some books in the back for sale, the autographed copies. Paul is back there helping me out. So thank you very much.